My name is Terry Koenig. I will be the instructor for this course, and it is Lean Six Sigma Measure and Analyze. So I'm going to go through the PowerPoint in video fashion. That seems to be a pretty big hit with the online students versus reading the PowerPoint themselves or having them narrated slide by slide. At least you get to see my face, even though I rarely get to see yours. So we'll go through this. It's kind of lengthy. I'm going to keep it in this view for a few reasons. A, there's always room for my face on the side. Don't block anything. I can move it around and have some room. And I like to see what's coming next just as much as you do. I don't have the whole slide deck memorized, so I can kind of give a quick glance to the left and see where I'm at. All right, so Lean Six Sigma, measure and analyze. So why do we have to do this? You don't, really, I guess, but you should want to deal with it because not only will it improve your business, but it should improve your customer base by making things better and less costly. You can return some of that to your customers and hopefully gain more customers. There's a lot to gain with this Lean Six Sigma. It's not just some trendy words to throw on a resume. There's a lot to it. And hopefully this will give you a good introduction to it. Not just this class, but this course. And you'll find some benefit in taking future courses. So as a group, this Measure and Analyze course is part of the required program for not only the quality assurance students, but also manufacturing management and supply chain management. So for this course, it's a mixed group of program students. Some would consider that it's kind of the minimal acceptance to compete in a global marketplace. As this started very early in Japan with building up Toyota, it's kind of the root of this, a lot of these ideals. To compete at that level, at any global level, this is commonplace. So it's meeting your customer requirements on quality, price, delivery, and service, kind of anticipating their needs, solving quality problems permanently, not just at the end of the day, continually improving processes to make them better each and every day, each and every model year, each and every shift, each and every new factory, whatever that entails, and preventing quality problems, not just waiting for the quality problems to arise and putting out the fires. It's preventing them in the first place. So the big picture, due to ever higher customer expectations, a company's survival and success depends on its ability to continuously and effectively improve products and services. You need to not just make your products better, but you need to have better service, better prices. That's hard to do with added technology and what customers expect for their dollar. So a little quality path here, depending on where you work or have worked in the past. Very common was the firefighting. This was problems arise, you deal with it, everybody clocks out for the day. Next week, Tuesday, the same problem happens, you fix it, everybody clocks out for the day. And hopefully you get a little better and you start inspecting some of your parts and get some control. And then maybe get a little further up the ladder and you write some procedures, some standard operating procedures, Maybe you become ISO certified, another huge recommendation for competing in a global marketplace. And then hopefully beyond that, you adapt some Lean Six Sigma principles and you're really focused on continuous improvement and customer confidence. So there's three, I can't put my face over the waterfall, that doesn't work. There's three key objectives for continuous improvement. That is identifying the waste and variation within your process, applying tools to reduce or eliminate that waste and variation, and then making your process flow, making it just flow through your facility, not in these large chunks, not with inventory laying everywhere, that it flows through. If you can picture high-end auto facilities, the cars are kind of flowing through it. Might be overhead, they might come down and turn, but they're flowing through it. It doesn't stop and 10 workers work on it and push it on to the next one. So Lean Six Sigma has two parts really, Lean and Six Sigma. So we'll start talking about Lean a little bit. And yes, I'm just going to drink during this. I'm not going to pause it. Just like if we were in class, you get what you get. All right, so defining Lean. So it's a systematic approach to identifying and eliminating waste. And waste is non-value added activities through continuous improvement by flowing the product at the pull of the customer in pursuit of perfection. Well, that's a lot of words. If you can remember a few of them, identifying and eliminating waste, and waste as non-value add activities. Remember that chunk of it. That'll come back over and over. You'll hear that again throughout this course and future courses. So definitions of value add and non-value add. So what does that mean? Got this little angel and little devil to tell us about it. So value add is any activity that increases the market form or function of the product or service, things the customer are willing to pay for. If you are building a piece of furniture, it's cutting the wood, it's sanding the wood, it's stapling the fabric to the wood. If it's steel, it's cutting the steel, it's drilling the steel. It's transforming that product. It looks different. Something is being done to it. Non-value add is any activity that does not add market form or function and is not necessary. These activities should be eliminated, simplified, reduced, or integrated. So that would be taking the wood or steel off the truck or the rack. That would be loading up the saw. That would be changing the blade. That would be measuring the holes. All of those activities are non-value add. In this case, the way we're teaching it. Now, all of those can make your process better, and some of those might be necessary currently in order to make good product. That does not make them value add. Just because Sargento needs to cut a block of cheese in Plymouth and move it to Hilbert to shred, it's necessary. It has to get from point A to point B. The customer doesn't care how that happens. It doesn't care if you have a truck, a car, a drone, a spaceship. It doesn't care how it goes from block to shred. It just knows, I want you to cut a block, and then I want you to cut some shred. Everything in between, non-value add. If you are stamping out parts, one every half a second, you load a piece of steel in. That half a second is the only value add. Loading the steel, measuring it, that's the only that half a second is the value add. So the wastes are usually in a few categories. You might see this at your place of work, something very similar. Maybe it's in a different order. Maybe the words are a little different. I really prefer this one, using the acronym downtime. In my mind, that just makes too much sense, and it's easier to remember. Again, this is something you will see over and over through this course, other courses, and in the workplace. So non-value add, 8 wastes. Defects, inspection and repair, right? Defects, obvious waste if you're throwing it away. Overproduction, making more than what's required at that time. This could be printing newspapers. This could be making iPhones. If Apple thinks it needs to make 10 million iPhone X's and they only sell 9 million, there's a million leftover phones. That's a pretty big deal. Waiting, one of the biggest wastes you will find. Easy to see, easy to identify. That's just idle time, standing around. Not using people's creative abilities. This would be having employees with degrees trying to promote themselves and you have them on the saw. Or this might be a journeyman electrician running a parts washer. Use people to their full ability. Transportation, moving product around, similar to the Sargento truck issue, whether it's trucking, forklifting, any type of transportation, inside or outside of a facility. Inventory, any oversupply. Most companies run on some sort of warehouse. Very few are done perfectly just in time. That there's some inventory. All that inventory is non-value add. Motion, this is movement of people or machines. So different from transportation, in that this would be walking to go get nuts and bolts or zip ties or glue or whatever you need to perform your job, moving around, reaching, bending, turning, all of that excess motion. And extra processing, activities that add no value to the customer. Some of you might say, well, why would you do it? Why would you add a process that adds no value to the customer? This is done all the time. A great one I used to run across is we had one customer who made large parts washers with a lot of stainless steel plumbing, all welded together. There was one customer who was very particular, wanted all the welds polished, and it looked spectacular. And we got really good at polishing all these welds. So then every washer we built, we just started polishing the welds. We get customers paying less dollar amounts. They didn't care that it was polished or not, but they got these gorgeous looking polished welds, and we put time into it. No one paid for it. That's on us. This would be if you buy a Ford Focus and it comes with the same paint quality or leather in top of the line Ford Mustang. You're not paying for it. Then why would they throw it in? Just because they have it laying around? So extra processing. So lean is commonly referred to as having a lean toolbox. So when you run across a problem or set of problems, you go into your toolbox, which is in your head, and the knowledge you learned, a couple of slides, a couple of books, and you decide what you can use to make that problem alleviated, what you need to do. So it's learning some tools. And these are just some of the more popular lean tools. Value stream mapping, which you'll learn, 5S, which is very common, rapid setup, mistake proofing or poke-yoking, visual process controls used almost everywhere, standardized work, again, very common, and workplace layout. So that's the lean aspect of it. Now the Six Sigma aspect of it is a little different, uh, at least in its origins. So Six Sigma is data and measurement based, and uses a wide range of statistical tools and root cause analysis. So it's using more information. Um, and it follows a disciplined series of steps, and it's team oriented. So it's more than one person uh, focusing on goals, but they're measurement based. It's not just moving things around. It's reducing variation. Somewhere in a slide it should be. See, that's why I need to know what's coming. So application of statistical problem solving via Six Sigma. Organized approach to continually improve the performance of a process by discovering the causes of variation. If lean was waste, Six Sigma is variation. And there's phases it goes through. This is used for many team things. It's referred to as DMAIC or DMAIC, potato, but it's DMAIC. That stands for define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So the name of this class, measure and analyze. Next class in succession to this one on your way to Greenbelt, improve and control. See how that works? All right, so define. So it's defining the scope and the goals of a project. What are you trying to accomplish? Then you have to measure it, find out what's happening, gather some information of the current state. And then you analyze it. Grab all these measurements and analyze what you have. Maybe you have to go out and take more measurements and analyze it again. But once you have all that, you can start focusing on improving the current state. And then you need to control it. How are you going to control those improvements? Make sure they stay permanent. So where does the term Six Sigma come from? It refers to standard deviation, which is a measure of variation. So Six Sigma is a process of having 6 standard deviations between the target and the nearest specification limit. Six Sigma quality will minimize lost opportunity. So this is your target. This is your upper spec and your lower spec. In between, there is 6 standard deviations to perform at a Six Sigma level. It gets a little confusing, but think of it, Six Sigma versus 3 Sigma. Okay, Six Sigma is better in the way this is defined. If you get into CPK measurements, it gets a little more complicated, but I won't confuse you with that yet. So picture if you're making a 2-centimeter bolt, okay? And the upper spec is 2.6 centimeters. You'd want your standard deviation to be 0.1 centimeters. So between the target, 2 centimeters, and the upper spec, 2.6 centimeters, you would have 6 standard deviations: 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, 2.6. Okay? You'd have 6 standard deviations. Your standard deviation being only 0.1 centimeters. Now, if you were only processing at a 3 sigma level, your variation would be, your standard deviation would be 0.2 centimeters, which is double, right? It's twice, your variation is twice as much, because you would have 2.2, 2.4, 2.6. That's only 3 standard deviations from the center line. Your standard deviation is too large in that case. If you need to watch this slide again, it is kind of confusing. There's also some great stories like that if you need to Google it, if it kind of confuses you. I'll never claim to be the smartest guy in the room. There's people who know this stuff in and out, and they have great examples of it. But that's what it's referring to. That's what it was originally referring to. Now it's kind of, the waters have muddied a little bit with this Lean Six Sigma, and Six Sigma is reducing variation, but that's where it came from. So sources of variation: insufficient process capability, which is a huge focus of mine. Inadequate design, that would be an engineering thing. Unstable parts, material inputs, might be purchasing, but it comes from different sources. So opposing beliefs, the goalpost view versus the natural curve. You know, in is in, upper spec, lower spec, versus measuring how well a quality function, how effectively a process stays within the tolerances. So that brings us to the mix, Lean Six Sigma. Again, kind of a Toyota beginning. There's all kinds of what might be like the godfathers of lean, Deming and Duran, that you might see along the way. I myself am not great with names and historical figures, and I don't expect you to remember which gentleman did what. So, Lean Six Sigma: identifying and eliminating waste, reducing variation. If you're going to remember anything, remember this slide. Identify waste and reduce variation. Apply tools to reduce variation and eliminate waste, and make the process flow. It's like saying that so it flows. That waterfall really adds a visual that it changes the sound of the way I say things. All right, here's a little flow chart to help you better understand maybe. Lean Six Sigma. Elimination of non-value add. Over here, providing better, faster service, lower cost. What's the focus? Better blow that up. Can't read it at all. Non-value add processes, variation, together they are Voltron or Lean Six Sigma. Hopefully some of you guys understand my humor. I know this is a long video. I want you to watch it. So hopefully at 24 minutes in, you're still paying attention. All right, implementing Lean Six Sigma. Define the processes, terms of inputs and outputs. So what's going in, what's coming out of the process. Things to look for with Inspector Gadget. Disorganized operations. Discontinuity between sales, service, manufacturing. Repeat customer problems. That's a big red flag. Repeating internal problems. If operators are complaining about the same thing. Disagreement on performance measures. If you're not measuring the right thing, it's not really helping. Disagreement on what's a good product. How many of us have that? Make sure you ship good product. Oh, what's good? Well, it doesn't have any scratches. Define a scratch. Any? Those are some big words if you start breaking this down. Signals from customers that something needs to change. If you have your customers calling and saying, you got to fix this, you got to fix this, you got to fix this, you really got to fix it. So where can you apply this? Anywhere. Manufacturing, office, internal projects. This can be done whether you're making chairs out of wood, steel tables, ice cream machines, whether you're making cheese, slicing the cheese. What else is in the area? Making sausages, making Yeti coolers, machine shops, anywhere. You could go into a hotel and apply Lean Six Sigma. It can be done. One of my favorite projects a student did in a team was at a bar. It was a bar owner, and he applied Lean Six Sigma. It can be done anywhere. It's there. He needed to reduce waste and variation. You can use it on your golf game. I don't golf, but so I could start and I'd have a lot of waste and a lot of variation. It's the big old overview. Maybe we're zooming in later, checking out the PowerPoint. Define, measure, analyze, improve, and control, right? And all the tools underneath it. Some of them we're going to cover in this course. Some of them we might just touch base on. We'll get into a lot of it. See, we'll get into some mini tab. You'll see that on the syllabus. Yeah, so we'll cover just about all of that, or at least touch some of it. And depending on how in depth each one is, a little different, but yeah, you'll learn all of this. It looks overwhelming now, especially with all the acronyms, but you'll get it. We'll get there. If you're going for your black belt, just remember this is one of 4 classes, so you have time. All right, so define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So steps in define, form a team, collect the voice of the customer, right? What do they want? Develop a project charter, validate a problem statement, develop a SIPOC or a process map. These are some pretty basic ones to start with, but you want to start with them. You don't want to overlook this. You want to be able to revert back to a project charter 6 months from now. You're still working on the project. Key steps in measure. Do a value stream map if the SIPOC wasn't efficient. Get some more data in there. Identify your inputs and your outputs. Ensuring accurate data is taken. Don't rely on what's in there already. If Joe and Carl have been measuring the parts for years, don't trust what Joe and Carl have been putting in there. Grab your caliper, grab your height gauge, grab a scale, whatever it is, and measure yourself. Collect some baseline data, and keep updating the project charter if needed. And along the way, make any quick hit improvements. If there's something you see that can be done right away, real cheap, you can implement it. Don't wait till the end. The end of this project might be further away. If you can fix it immediately, by all means do it. Some of these are no-brainers. You'll run into those. Key steps in analyze: identifying your non-value add, analyzing the process flow for bottlenecks, analyze anything you measured, narrow the search on some root causes, collect additional data if needed. So this requires teams and some consensus. You can't just have one person analyze everything. Then you get opinions, and it doesn't have the same weight. It's hard to hold one person accountable to all this. Make sure this is all done in team function. So steps to improve: develop potential solutions. Select the best solutions. Pilot the new process. Confirmed improved process meets the goals. Execute full-scale implementation. You see how that works? So if you get to 4 and it's a bust, you go back. You select a different best solution. Don't think the first one you pick is always going to be the home run. Even if you did a full-blown root cause analysis, you could be wrong. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. When you do figure out what egg it is, control it. Develop support methods documentation. Try to lock it in. Maybe create a better check for it. And then you hand it off to the process owners, the operators, and finalize the project. Close it out. Have a party. Get some pizzas. It's always a good excuse to get pizzas. All right. On to Kaizen. Kaizen, potato, potato. Some of these fancy words, they all mean the same thing. So Kaizen is good change. You're making a change. Hopefully it's for the better. You're going to use the DMAIAC: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. You're going to use that process. So a Kaizen event, sometimes it's referred to as a Kaizen blitz. Kaizen blitz, Kaizen event, usually depends on how long it takes. I always think a Kaizen event is a week-ish, and a Kaizen blitz is a day-ish. So it's the same ideas, it's just how in-depth it's getting. All right, so Kaizen: improvement of a process is an intense project where employees are pulled off their regular jobs. Do not expect them to do their other jobs. They're done. They're doing this now this week. 3 to 5 full days for an event. Dedicated resources. That means if they need a forklift, they don't have to go borrow one from shipping. They have their own forklift available. Pallet jacks. A maintenance man, maybe. Product is well defined going in. They know what the goal is. The basic data is already gathered. And the implementation is going to be immediate. The end of your 3 to 5 days, implemented. And management makes support areas available. This is HR, marketing, IT. They need to know, those departments need to know what you're doing. So when you say you have an IT problem, It's not I get to it next week. We're doing this in 3 to 5 days. This is fixed in 20 minutes. It gets top priority. So as a company, you also don't do 20 of these at a time. Um, Depending on the size of your company, you get a team, you do one, knock it out the park, get a different team, do it again. So typical event. So you might get a black belt and a sponsor define the project, select Kaizen leader, identify your participants, assemble some background materials, prep training, secure logistics. Get it all set up. So Monday, everybody comes in ready to go. Morning, midday, get some donuts, breakfast pizza. Always work pizza into it. And you brief the team. You deliver a little bit of training. You don't spend a day on training. You give them, an hour, top-loaded bullet points. Maybe you have a video like this recorded beforehand. You can just push play. You resolve any questions about the charter. And then you begin measuring, creating, validating your SciPoc or your value stream map. All right, then you get into Tuesday. You do a little bit more measuring and you move into analyze as soon as possible to identify and try to verify root causes. By Wednesday afternoon, you should be into the improving, working on solutions, developing criteria, evaluating alternatives, conducting a pilot test, doing brainstorming on different ideas why it worked, why it didn't work. Thursday, you're finishing up your improve. Hopefully you have it narrowed down. You're going to develop some controls for it. Develop some new documentation. Maybe take some pictures. Maybe make some training videos. Whatever you need to do. And then by Friday, midday, you present the results to management, right? You want some credit for this. You want to toot your own horn a little bit. And then you get approvals and then they do a next one, right? And then leave it up to your black belt and the Kaizen leader to follow up with the owners as necessary. That's a week. Go in, do your thing, go out. So I wanted to say to make sure, reiterate that people are pulled from their jobs. If you take someone from engineering, they're not doing engineering that week. If you take someone from purchasing, they're not doing purchasing that week. If you take a supervisor, you have a different supervisor filling in. This is their job that week. So some more tips. Should not be used with an inexperienced Six Sigma team. Make sure they have some training. Like I said, Monday morning, quick overview, an hour or two tops, and then get them out there. You don't want to spend 3 days training. So individuals like yourself who have had some training, maybe they have a yellow belt, maybe they have a green belt, they've done something before. That's who you want on your team. A good team leader as well, someone who is not just hardcore but can motivate. Make sure the data is available and complete. And maybe more appropriate for a Lean Six Sigma event that involves more Lean tools than Six Sigma tools. So while it is a combination, the Six Sigma stuff takes a little longer sometimes to analyze and gather enough data. The Lean stuff can come in a little bit quicker. All right, on to teams and change management. Components of an effective organization: leadership, participation, and learning. Hopefully, as students, you always find yourself learning. Never stop learning. Learning organizations. I'm going to take some pride in this picture. If you watch Grey's, it's a teaching hospital, right? So a learning organization. They have consistent values throughout. They focus on continuous improvement, take some calculated risks, share knowledge efficiently, take some data, make some decisions, run to the problems instead of from the problems, use the power of teams where appropriate. Um, so if you watch Grays, hopefully you hear it like I do. If you don't, I apologize. But they have teams. They pull in cardio. They pull in plastics. They pull in neuro. And they run to the problem. Let's get everybody involved. They take some risks. They do new things. Thursdays, ABC. Leadership. So maybe if I didn't hit you on the Grays, maybe you know these three gentlemen. So, well, as of the beginning of 2018, this was the coach, offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. And while they did not win the Super Bowl to the wonderful Philadelphia Eagles, and that was a good day for a lot of people, these three gentlemen know leadership. They got the infrastructure, their equipment, their people, their time management, project management, monitor progress based on data, provide guidance, and encourage the culture by being an example. So these three together do an excellent job. And now they're apart, and we'll see what that does to a team. So having a vision, a well-communicated vision, and some ground rules. What behaviors will support the vision? Pretty simple. Leadership is everywhere or it isn't anywhere. I'd find that in politics. Participation. So you want to remove the reasons for not taking action. Get rid of the excuses. Focus on what you can do versus what you can't do. There might be a lot you can't do. You might come up with some really big ideas. There's still budgets in place and red tape. But get rid of much as you can. Do what you can. And take action today. And organize effective teams. Empowerment, that comes up almost every team discussion. Giving people the authority to act on behalf of the customer without prior approval. This is a pretty big deal. If you always have to ask permission. One of the sayings I live by is it's easier to ask forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. If you're pretty sure you're doing the right thing, most times it's worth taking a chance. Speak with data. So when we talk about this measurement phase, the more measurements you have, the better. It's not this, oh, I have a hunch, I have a gut feeling. I kind of have a little bit of experience in this. No, get some hardcore objective evidence. I measured the cycle time, and the uptime of the machine, and have some more information with you. Get my face out of there again. So this is what you might run across to, not on the team you pick, but when you're trying to pick a team. Cave people, citizens against virtually everything. We all know these people. We all have to tolerate these people. Then you move over again, a little bit skeptical, right? And then you get a large chunk in the middle, just kind of waiting to see which way the wind blows. Is this going to work, or are we going to fall back? And then there's a good chunk of people who are willing. Yep, I'm curious. You piqued my attention. And the early adopters. That's the green belts. That's the Six Sigma guys, gals. We know this can work. We have faith. We need to push the rest. So digging into your organization, you might have a chart that looks something like this, right? Engineering, purchasing, manufacturing, sales, quality, below staff. You want to kind of dig into it on your teams. So if you have project XYZ, ABC, DEF, you might want to run these all at the same time and steal 3 engineering reps. But take this engineering rep, then take another one, and take a different one. Or maybe this person's really good and can take 2 of the 3. Whatever works. Cross-functional, though. Make sure you take people from different departments. They know a lot. They know different things, right? People have different skill sets. You never know when it's going to come into play. We might be making a quality decision, and marketing has some great input on it. Something we didn't think of. Our brains aren't always wired the same way to think of this. Determining your team personality. Oh, isn't this cute? So self-awareness. You might be one of these people on the team, right? Determine your team personality. Determine your own personality. Who are you? Are you the grumpy one, the stylish one, the annoying one? Are you the princess, the funny guy? I might lean towards the funny guy. The one that's always hungry, standing right next to the funny guy. Like that guy too. Then the lazy one, the one with the bad memory. Where do you fall? Where do your coworkers fall? Even a mix of these is good. You don't want a whole lazy team. You don't want all drama queens. But sometimes they bring some good things to you. Even the lazy person. Good Bill Gates quote, if you can believe what the internet says. Hire a lazy person to do a difficult job because they'll find the easiest way to do it. Truth. All right, so here's the disc. So genetic traits, you got no control over that really. Your core personality. Then you have some surface traits. And then you have outside environment, other people, situations, circumstances, even the weather, current events. So you're going to do a disc analysis. And there's another video going over how to do this. This seems semi-confusing through here. There's a Word doc talking about it. I made a video doing a little example of it. Do your best to get through it. Any questions, you can email. You're going to see a tally box like this. DISC. And there's ends. And there's 4 different shapes, right? Z's, square, triangle, stars. There's going to be 28 questions. You're going to pick your most acceptable answer and your least acceptable answer. And you're going to circle that shape. And you're going to count how many shapes you have. So for Z, on your most, you might have 2 Z's. Least, we had 14 Z's. You had 3 positive squares, 11 negative squares, so on and so forth. And it gives you a score. Negative 12, negative 8, positive 10, positive 11. Then you're going to score it. You're going to plot it on this graph 3. I'll move this over. Nope, can't do that. See, so you plot. So you're plotting the negative 12, negative 8. See, each one doesn't have the same scale. See how negative 8 is below negative 12? D and I do not have the same scale. S, positive 10. C, positive 11. So you're going to see, you're going to go by your peak. what you gravitate towards. And then there's a lot of information on the Excel sheet in Blackboard as well, along with what's here. Now I'm not going to go through all of this. Favorable, unfavorable, more powerful, less powerful, and how you use persuasion and see challenges. Some compliance, influence. So DISC is dominance, influencing others, steadiness, compliance. Where do you fall? High C, high D, high S, high I. Sometimes it might not be high, you might be in between some. Communication strategies, and see if the DISC analysis is right. Did it nail it? Is it close? Whoa. So that's one of your assignments, to do the DISC analysis. Working with ideas, brainstorming. Promise you we're getting to the end of this. So brainstorm. We've all done some brainstorming before. Throw out a whole bunch of ideas, right? Large number of ideas, short period of time. All different ways to do it. Post-it notes, shouting, there's a million tools out there to use. Right, so why use it? A lot of ideas in a short time. Stimulate some creative thinking, gets some juices flowing, gets everybody involved, creates a little team camaraderie, make some friends, gets things going. So you want to still use your charter. Make sure you're identifying your customers' needs. You're looking for a root cause. So you can make your brainstorming fun, but realize you're doing it for a purpose. All right, helpful brainstorming tips. Should take place in a structured session. Don't do this at the bar over lunch. Group size between 3 and 10, enough for 2 pizzas. Composition of the group should include a variety of people, different positions, different backgrounds, different home lives. Change it up as much as you can. Group leader should just keep it focused, keep ideas flowing, keep task at hand. It should be closed door, no distractions. That includes phones. Keep the phones off. Keep them out of there. Go in there, get it done. Seating should promote the free flow of ideas. Don't do rows where someone's looking at the back of somebody's head. Usually the pit idea where it's a square, everybody's looking at each other. So you can see everybody. And have the leader record ideas so everybody can see them. Large whiteboard, flipboard, chalkboard, whatever works. So post the topic or problem you're talking about. Each group member thinks of ideas. Start presenting some ideas. Go around in a circular fashion. You can pass. Don't put extreme pressure on people. Some people need a little more time. Some people aren't as comfortable. Some of the best ideas are in the quiet people, though. So make sure you don't ignore them or forget about them. Rules. You gotta maintain some rules. The biggest one is don't criticize by word or gestures even if you think they're being funny. Maybe they're not. Maybe just let it go. Don't discuss any ideas. That means don't start saying, hey, that's not possible. There'll be time for that. Don't hesitate to suggest a silly idea. Sometimes the silly ideas get built off of something else, and you're like, wait, well, we can't, serve beer to employees. Maybe we can relax them a little more in the afternoon. How can we do that? And don't allow someone to present more than one idea at a time. Don't let someone steal the meeting. Don't let it get dominated by a pair of people. If you can, make sure maybe those real dominant souls aren't in the brainstorming meeting. maybe they can come through and they can help you narrow it down later. And don't let it become a gripe session. It's not just for complaining. Also, there are some limitations, right? Um, some of them aren't polite or politically correct. Be careful of those, especially in 2018. Things can get a little offensive really fast. Uh, be careful, be apologetic. Um, no one, maybe it wasn't on purpose, but it happens if you're trying to do this really quick. All right, and then work with your ideas. One of the my favorite ones is 410 voting. It's eliminating uh, a bunch of the ideas and narrowing them down a little bit. So how do you do this, right? So everybody gets a bucket of 10 votes, and you have to vote on 4 items. So let's say you have 25 items on the board. You have to vote for 4 of them, but you have 10 points. So the most you can give a single item is 7, and then you can do 1, 1, 1. But you have to allot all 10. So just tally marks work really great. If you have a whiteboard, give everybody the same color, so it's done separately without comment, and no one knows who voted for what. But if you feel very strongly about something, you can give it 7 votes. So if this was pizza toppings, yep, pepperoni and sausage might win out with getting a large number of small votes from everybody. But I would give 7 votes to pineapple because I know it needs the extra. Give it the boost. Um, and that's how it works. So here's a sample spreadsheet, bunch of ideas, a couple of different people. They all add up to 10 for a total of 30. So this person went 4, 2, 2, 2. This one went 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4. Didn't really mix it up a whole lot. But it still got the point across. You had one idea that got 10 votes, one idea that got 8 votes, one idea that got 5 votes. So guess which 3 we're focusing on first? All right. Last slide. We did it. Less than an hour. All right. Thank you.